Hello everyone out there. You are welcome to your favorite platform on YouTube, Literature Hub 247. The novel being reviewed is Part of Lucas, written by Susanne Bellefeuille. Part of Lucas is one of the recommended non-African prose in the WAEC 2026 to 2030 syllabus. Earlier on this platform, we've discussed the plot summary as well as chapters 1 to 25. So this is chapter 26 of the novel. And let me inform you that all the videos are connected, right from the plot summary through the chapters. Just make sure you watch one to the end. The next video pops up. Let's go into the classroom. This is chapter 26 of the novel. In the last chapter, Isabel has been hospitalized because she is seriously sick. Let's now see what happens in chapter 26. Lucas stays with Isabel till the next morning and expects to be briefed about her health. He is tired and dozes off as Isabel continues sleeping. The doctor and the nurse who come into the room wake him. The doctor introduces himself as Dr. Mackenzie and informs Lucas that the test results indicate that Isabel is very ill. He explains further that her body is shutting down because she is in a deep depression. He explains further that her body is shutting down because she is in a deep depression. Isabel might sleep for days because she is exhausted from the stress she passed through. Dr. Mackenzie says Isabel would be transported by ambulance to the ward for patients with clinical depression in the general hospital. There are psychologists and psychiatrists there to attend to her. Lucas tries to disprove that Isabel has a mental disorder and says she is a happy person. Dr. Mackenzie says that anybody can have depression very easily. He clarifies that he is not a specialist in the area and that is why she is referred to Dr. Jones at the general hospital. The doctor will better diagnose and recommend proper treatment for Isabel. Dr. Mackenzie prepares Lucas' mind for the task ahead. He tells him to prepare himself because it is a long process. He advises him to go home and rest while Isabel is taken to the general hospital. Lucas, shedding tears, insists that he will stay with his wife. The doctor then tells him to follow the ambulance to the general hospital, and Miss Jackson, the nurse, will direct him to Dr. Jones' office. The nurse invites him to the nurse's station to give him some information because before he goes to the general hospital, he gets the necessary information and watches how Isabel is wheeled out of the room into the ambulance and driven away. On the way to the general hospital, Lucas blames himself for Isabel's predicament. He says he shouldn't have taken the job that took him away from home. Lucas says Isabel needs emotional support after Frank's death. He also thinks Isabel is still dealing with her childhood issues, the reason why he should be by her side, but there is no going back again. He enters the hospital and asks for Dr. Jones. He explains to a nurse that his wife has just been brought to the hospital in an ambulance. The nurse tells him that Isabel is in room 323 on the 3rd floor. But he needs to fill out forms before a nurse directs him to Dr. Jones. Lucas fills and signs the forms and gives them to the nurse. The nurse tells him to have a seat and leaves to call the nurse in charge. Lucas thinks about his life as everything appears as a nightmare to him. He wonders if he has done something wrong. Several minutes later, a nurse comes over and introduces herself as Mary Sekin, the nurse in charge of the 3rd floor. Lucas shakes her and responds anxiously to hear about Isabel from her. The nurse tells her that Dr. Jones is checking through Isabel's file and wants to talk to Lucas about her. She asks Lucas to follow her to the doctor. where he will ask him any questions about Isabel's ailments. Lucas feels as if he's in a different world when they walk toward the doctor's office. He's pessimistic about the information he's about to receive from the doctor, that it might not be a good one. When they enter the doctor's office, the nurse, Mary Secretary, introduces Lucas to the doctor as Isabel's husband and leaves. The doctor then welcomes Lucas and tells him to have a seat. Lucas is scared and feels nervous in the doctor's office. The doctor tells him that he's going through Isabel's file and says her condition is serious. He adds that Isabel is suffering from an extremely deep depression. He explains further that Isabel presently doesn't know who she is or who Lucas is. That is, she cannot recognize any of her family members, even herself. He says he cannot fathom what goes on in her mind. That is, presently, Isabel cannot even recognize Lucas as her husband. Lucas wonders how Isabel will not recognize him as said by the doctor, and what the doctor means by saying if she recovers. The doctor responds that Isabel is in a state of clinical depression, but diagnosed with psychotic depression. It tells Lucas to prepare for anything because Isabel will behave in a manner he will not understand. She may not recognize him as her husband, but takes him as a total stranger. Dr. Jones says it's difficult to determine the outcome until Isabel wakes up. He needs to work closely with her to identify the right treatment for her. He advises Lucas to go home and have some rest to reserve his energy for what is to come later. He tells him that he needs to be strong for what he's going to experience with Isabel. He closes the file and asks Lucas if he has any questions. Lucas still wonders and asks for more clarification that Isabel will not recognize him as her husband from the doctor. The doctor explains that Isabel is likely in a psychotic depression where she lives in her illusion. He says he cannot determine Isabel's condition, but the family should prepare for the worst, and that depression is difficult to predict. The doctor brings out some pamphlets from his desk and gives them to Lucas. Lucas thanks him and asks if he can see Isabel before he leaves. The doctor replies that he will call the nurse to take him to Isabel's room. Lucas meets Nurse Sequin in the hall and she takes him to Isabel's room. She tells Lucas that Isabel is still sleeping and that if he needs anything, she is at the nurse's station. Lucas thanks the nurse and enters the room. He walks closer and finds Isabel is sleeping normally as done at home. He can only hear her breathing and he places his hand on her shoulder and stares at her. He thinks everything is a nightmare, that Isabel will wake up and ask for the kids. Lucas kisses her on the cheek and sits on the chair beside her bed. He expresses his love for her and asks if she will remember the family when she wakes up the following day. He promises to stay by her, whatever the case may be, until she recovers. They will now live together as a united family again. He lowers his head and cries, promising to love her till he dies. He stares at Isabel again when he stops crying. He kisses her again and remembers their first date. Lucas whispers, quote, "I love you," unquote, in Isabel's ear and walks out of the room. He goes to the nurse's station and informs Nurse Sequin that he is leaving. The nurse promises to call him when Isabel wakes. She then advises him to go and have some rest when she sees his red eyes. That is Lucas' red eyes. Lucas walks into the elevator when the door opens. He sees a man pushing a woman in a wheelchair and talking to the woman, who doesn't respond. Lucas then remembers Isabel's condition and asks if they are also going to have a similar experience. So that is chapter 26 of part of Lucas. So if you are new on this platform, try and click on the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you'll be part of this class. And also, whenever any video is produced, you are going to be notified. Like this video, you are free to share it on any social media platform. Invite your friends and colleagues to join us, teachers in the house. Do not hesitate to introduce your students to this platform so that they can benefit. If you have any question or comment, send it to the comment section and it will be attended to immediately. Thank you and God bless. Let's meet in the next class.